Welcome to our lesson on dividing fractions and mixed numbers. Get your notes set up, title, fill in our date, and then our learning target. Draw your line and be ready to go. So jot down these couple of problems and I want you to kind of think through them. First one should be pretty easy. 12 divided by 3, so 12 broken up into 3 parts would give us an answer of 4. Think about this one down here, 5 divided by 1/4. So think of our discussion the other day. When you're dividing something up into 1/4, it means you're taking 5 whole objects and breaking them up into 4 chunks. So if I had 5 objects and each of those was broken up into 4 smaller pieces, that means I would end up with a total of 20 pieces because I broke it up into smaller chunks. So now take a look at this one. 12 times 1/3. Well, to multiply, I can write my whole number over 1. 12 and 3 can both be divided by 3, so that gives me a 4 and a 1. Multiply and I get 4 over 1 or 4. Notice I got the exact same answer both times. Here, 5 times 4, nice easy one, gives us 20. You'll notice that very similar numbers in both sides. Over here I had 12 over 1 divided by 3 over 1, so I'm dividing by a fraction, but I got the exact same thing by multiplying by 1 over 3. Here I was doing 5 over 1 divided by 1 over 4. That got me the same thing as 5 over 1 times 4 over 1. So if you remember back to last year, you'll remember something called the reciprocal. A reciprocal of a number flips the numerator and the denominator. So instead of dividing by 1/4, I got the exact same thing by multiplying by 4 over 1. Same thing here. Instead of dividing by 3 over 1, I flip the fraction. I find its reciprocal, 1 over 3, and I multiply by it instead. So instead of dividing by a fraction, we're going to multiply times its reciprocal. It gets us the same thing, and we already know how to multiply. So here's our notes to jot down. Our basic steps. First one's still the same. Use your integer rules to decide if your answer is going to be positive or negative. Then, instead of dividing, multiply by the reciprocal. Remember, it's always the second fraction that we flip over that becomes its reciprocal. And then you just cross simplify and multiply like normal. And then don't forget to simplify at the very end. So here we have negative 3/8 divided by 12 over 1. So first is decide on your sign. I've got a negative times divided by a positive. When one's negative, one's positive, I know my answer is going to be negative. Then I go ahead and do the problem. Instead of dividing, I want to multiply, but I want to do it by the reciprocal, the upside down version of this fraction. So instead of 12 over 1, I get 1 over 12. Now it's a multiplication problem, so I do a little cross simplifying. 3 and 12 can both be divided by 3. So I get a 1 and a 4. And then I multiply. 1 times 1 is 1. 8 times 4 is 32. So I get an answer of negative 1/32. Try the next one. A negative divided by a negative. A negative divided by a negative cancels out and becomes a positive. Then I rewrite the problem. First fraction stays the same. Instead of dividing, I make it into multiplication, but the second fraction becomes its reciprocal. We flip it upside down. So 21 over 10. Once it's written as a multiplication problem, now I can cross simplify. So 5 and 10 can both be divided by 5. So I get a 2 and a 1. 21 and 14 can both be divided by 7. So I get a 3 and a 2. In this case, I can't simplify any farther, so I go ahead and multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4. So anytime you see division, we're going to change it to multiplying, but we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the number, because we found that we get the exact same answer without any extra steps. Last one. This should be coming back to us a little bit. Remember, we want to change the mixed numbers to improper fractions first before we worry about anything else. So, whole number times the denominator plus the numerator. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16 fifths. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8 thirds. A negative is going to come along. Now I'm ready to decide, is it going to be positive or negative? So I have a positive 16 fifths divided by a negative 8 thirds. When one's positive, one's negative, I know my answer is going to be negative. Now, I don't want to divide, so I want to rewrite it as multiplying by my reciprocal. The reciprocal of 8 thirds is 3/8. Once it's written as a multiplication problem, now I can cross simplify. 8 and 16 can both be divided by 8. I can't simplify anymore, so I multiply. 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 1 is 5, so I get negative 6 fifths. But always check. In this case, my numerator is bigger than my denominator, so I ask myself, how many times can 5 go into 6? It goes in 1 time. The negative just stays with the whole thing. If I took away one group of 5 from 6, I would be left with 1/5 left over. So I get negative 1 and 1/5. So I change my mixed numbers to improper fractions and then follow my normal steps for my division problem.